Come on!
So you know when you're in a fighting game and you get stuck on a taunt and someone gets a free shot on you? Isn't that exactly what happened here?
Yeah, it was like, is it a special move that the guy ran? Did he do like a down forward low punch?
Yeah.
Or was it
a down forward low punch is like his wrench. his 30-pound wrench.
Is this like a glitch move too, where you just keep throwing wrenches and it's?
Do you think it's maybe it's a boomerang? I don't know.
Yeah,
a boomerang
I like
back.
I would love to see what other moves the Sandman has. Clearly, he's not going to be going down by Scorpion's fireball by any means.
Yeah, clearly, yeah, he's fireproof. He's got blades for days.
Van Damme should have been paying attention too. By the way, he's walking around. This guy's taunting him. You never know when a wrench is going to come flying at you.
Yeah,
you just got to watch out.
He had his guard up though, and it didn't matter.
He just got done flexing.
It broke the guard.
Wouldn't it be better if it hit him while flexing? Like that's what it should have done. Like the guy got mad that he taunted him. That's what happened. Yeah. So he had to throw a wrench.
Well, yeah, the first rule is you don't taunt the Sandman. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, welcome back. This is episode 127 of the Last Row Podcast. If you're looking for our website, you're new, check it out, thelastrowpodcast.com. Follow us on all the social channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at The Last Row Pod. And if you are enjoying the show, please consider heading out to Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you can. Thanks to everyone that's done so far. I'm excited to be talking about my man, JCVD here, Badway.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to be honest with the people. I'm a little under the weather, not feeling great. So if I'm a little crabby or a little out of it or a little cranky, don't hold it against me. I did like this movie, so that's good. At least it wasn't a bad movie.
It wasn't bad.
So, yeah.
It's all right.
Should we get right into it? Let's get right into it. Let's go to Death Warrant, September 14th, 1990. Drew, did you know this movie existed?
I didn't until I didn't. It was almost called Dusted, which I would have. I think it's a better name.
A 6-year-old Drew would have watched Dusted in the theater.
I did not know this existed. I only knew this existed recently when I started going through Van Damme's movieography.
It's kind of a hidden gem in the Van Damme cinematography. What do they call
cinematic
it?
History?
Cinematic history? Cinematography. What the hell's
filmography?
It called? Filmography.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Told you.
They always got the brain eating amoeba.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But it's maybe underappreciated. Nobody talks about Death Warrant. I feel when they bring up Van Damme movies, it's pretty enjoyable. It's short, hour 29 runtime. Just
Perfect.
right.
Just right.
Under 90? Are you serious?
Under 90. 100 or less.
Dream.
Our alternate podcast.
The dream here. Genre, action/martial arts. Directed by Darren Sarafian. Written by David S. Goyer.
This was his first screenplay I saw.
Was it his first screenplay?
I think so. It was his first or one of his first.
Ooh,
and it's interesting. I liked it.
What do you know? What do you know about Darren Sarafian, Drew?
I don't know anything about him, but I know about David Goyer.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? This guy has directed 60 things, according to IMDb.
Anything that you know? Or we know?
Death Warrant.
The famous director of Death Warrant.
Yeah, that's about it. No, this guy. Screw this guy. He directed an episode of House. A couple episodes of House.
Okay.
Yeah, so good for him. Anyways, Death Warrant. IMDb 5.7 out of 10.
I think it's probably just right.
Probably too high, but not for us.
Not for us. This is too low for me.
Yeah. Rotten Tomato 29%. Probably right. Probably right.
Too low.
I don't know. Metacritic 34%.
Too low.
I'll allow it. Letterboxd 2.7 out of 5. They know.
It's literally too low because I gave it a 3. And I have one of the votes.
But they know 2.7. That's respect. I feel for Letterboxd.
It's good in my opinion. This is a good movie, but it's we get into it. We'll get into.
I mean, is it good? I don't know. It's enjoyable.
I liked it.
It's
good, and I liked it.
Short and sweet. In a violent and corrupt prison, decorated cop Louis Burke must infiltrate the jail to find answers to a number of inside murders. What he finds is a struggle of life and death tied into his own past. Rated R.
Is it really more I mean, it kind of is in his own past, but it wasn't for a
Yeah.
specific reason.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I watched this movie like 12 hours ago. I have no idea what's going on.
I'll walk you through it.
I mean, I know he went. I know he went undercover to prison to like undercover what happened, but like the inner workings of who did what and when and why, like I didn't get it. But it's okay. It doesn't matter.
You. It doesn't matter. It's Van Damme kicking ass and flexing and going. Ah.
I'll tell you. I mean, not to spoil a freaking 30, 40-year-old movie for you. It's what 30-year-old movie. Yeah. I mean, as soon as he went into the prison and they went, oh, AB blood. That's a rare type. I was like, oh, okay, they're harvesting organs. Gotcha.
Yeah. It goes without saying. If you have not seen this movie and you don't want to know what's going on, then pause it right now and watch that. But we're not really going to get into the plot. So, taglines. So there's only one. Again, short and sweet. There's not a lot about this movie out there. In Bloodsport and Kickboxer, he won it all. Now there are no rules, no escape, and nobody's playing games.
Nobody's playing games. Like it's fine, but I don't like the mentioning of the other movies in the taglines.
I don't like it either.
I don't like when they do that.
I don't like it either. I mean, this is, I think, his next one after those, but I don't like it.
Yeah, he's still not like fully Van Damme yet, is he? Like, I don't know.
Bloodsport made him Van Damme, but Kickbox, I mean, those are his two probably biggest, but I love Lionheart. Like, I think Lionheart is an underrated movie. Maybe I'll save it for the JCVD section, but is he like a household name? Maybe after
at this
Kickboxer.
Point?
I don't know. Maybe after Kickboxer. Maybe
all
after.
Right. He did Cyborg and then Kickboxer. Okay,
Universal Soldier was what, 92? I think it was. It's not on the IMDb page for whatever.
It was after this. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is where he is. This is where he is a household name. Like this movie might have been up there because Double Impact was also 91 as well. So it's like right around that time. But yeah, so and honestly, it made a good amount of money. So it had a financial budget of $6 million, and then it made a worldwide gross of around 46.7, which is pretty good.
This is the time, man. 1990 on the dot.
Yeah.
If you want to make a dumb action movie about a guy going to prison undercover to infiltrate, who cares? Because he's going to kick somebody.
Yeah.
1990 was the year to do it.
But see, like they don't, and I hate to say this again, you can quote me, but they don't make them like they used to because they can't make them like they used to. They tried, like obviously very timely, John Wick is out right now. John Wick is like the modern version of this, but it's a good movie. Like these, I don't think were really good movies at the time. Like it wasn't film or cinema.
Yeah, it's just like, let's put the action star in a situation and let him kick some people. That's what it is.
Is it safe to say, and now this might be controversial, but is it safe to say that the modern day action movie is like the superhero movie? Because like, honestly, at this point, like I haven't even, and I'm going to probably blaspheme everybody, and I'm a comic book fan.
Oh, blaspheme.
Like I'm out on the MCU right now. It's too much. Too much. They're doing too much. I can't keep up with it. I don't really care anymore.
Let's make less movies.
Like I'm good with less. Now these, it's like, just put the big action star in it, and it's like, you just have a movie. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a time period thing too, I feel.
Well, you see it, but they're more they're larger budgets now. Like
true.
Like The Rock is one where it's like even he's died down, but like think about the mid 2000s to like early 2010s. You got The Rock. Wahlberg was another. They tried it with Statham. He's not really a leading man, I don't think, as far as making money at the box office, but he's a good secondary guy.
Yeah. He's great.
They tried. Yeah, he's great, but like they tried to have this, and I think they tried to make Wahlberg a thing, and it worked for a while. Just put Wahlberg in a situation, hand Wahlberg a gun, and have him go hunt people down, whether it's in the military or on the streets, and it worked. But they're still different movies then because they try to flesh out the story a little more these days. Whereas these types of movies, it was just for crowd pleasing, right?
Yeah, they didn't. Let's
take Van Damme's shirt off and have him kick people in the face, and let's get to it.
I think you look at a movie like John Wick is obviously very critically acclaimed, but there was a movie that came out. What was the movie? Atomic Blonde, where it was like one of the co-directors of John Wick made it out with the Charlize Theron.
Yeah,
it was pretty good, but it was sort of like a modern day of one of these. And same thing with some of these other ones where. Maybe you look at like a lot of the Liam Neeson movies, like Taken was a good throwback to this type of movie.
Yeah, that's true. Liam Neeson is the guy. Yeah.
And but they're entertaining. Like Equalizer came out right around the time of 2014 when John Wick came out. There's some other movies.
Equalizer is so good.
Equalizer's a great movie. And I remember watching that in the theater thinking like, this is awesome. It's like, these are the types of movies that I love because it's simple plot. It's just awesome action and it's fun to watch and you don't have to get too invested in it. And I think it's like a good segue because I want to talk to you about like JCVD as an action star in the 90s. So you mentioned some of his movies earlier. I am honestly right now I'm on a JCVD kick. And I'll just be honest with you. Like I've watched a bunch of Van Damme movies. I started with Lionheart recently and it just put me down this Van Damme path. And we've done, I think, 4 of his other movies on this show. We did Sudden Death, we did Bloodsport, we did Hard Target, we did Time Cop, and now we're doing Death Warrant.
Welcome to the Five Timers Club.
Induct him in. Yeah. Like, obviously, we're big fans of Arnold. What is your like history with Van Damme? Like, I know we've done these movies, but I don't know that we talked about this at length before.
It's late because I was always Arnold, Stallone, Seagal, right? And now, you know, I love Seagal movies, but it's hard to root for him because he's a scumbag, right?
True.
And like now he's best friends with Vladimir Putin all of a sudden. So it's like even harder. It's even harder to root for him, you know. But I mean, I can separate the art from the artist all you want. Like I'll listen to Michael Jackson. You know, who knows what's going on over there. Van Damme, I was late to it, right? I feel like the first time I saw Bloodsport, I was well into my 20s. I feel like I hadn't seen many Van Damme movies until later in my adulthood. And it's been a great ride. Like he's underappreciated. He's underrated, I feel.
He's awesome, dude. I love Arnold. Obviously, Arnold is my favorite. But I could tell you, like, JCVD gives him a run for his money. And I totally think he's underappreciated. And I think we talked about this, like, Arnold has his accent, which gives him sort of this charm. I feel like in some ways, I feel like Van Damme's accent was almost like a negative against him. And it's like unfortunate because he's a good actor. Like you recommended to me that I watch JCVD recently. And I haven't seen that in a long time. So I finally like watched it. And what bothered me a little bit was I couldn't find a non-dubbed version of this thing. Like I couldn't, you can't buy the DVD at least anywhere that I could see easily. Yeah. And the only versions that were streaming that I could find were the dubbed version. And he goes in and out of English. So there's some of the scenes of him acting in English. But if you guys have not seen this movie, go watch this movie. It's fantastic. And there's a monologue that he gives that breaks the fourth wall or whatever. And he does it all in French. And man, like if I've never seen an example of like a guy speaking of his native tongue, like doing such a good job acting his heart out. Like, you know, we talk about not talking and doing an accent or doing not your language, like takes all your acting powers. Yeah. Like maybe he gets a bad rap because he's trying to do English and it's tough.
Here's the thing, and this is not my views. This is like what happened back in these times, right? French Canadian, you know, they kind of like dub it a quote unquote wussy voice, maybe. People are not, you know, United States not cool with French. It's like, oh, a pansy French guy.
Well, it's like he's Belgian though, right? It's like
yeah, but it's still like he has like a French-ish accent.
Oh yeah, I mean he literally is like the French language. Yeah. You're right,
right, and that's kind of what I feel like separates him from Arnold when he gets talk about that charm.
True,
like it's held against Van Damme, whereas it's for Arnold. But what JCVD has is, I feel that it's obvious that he's trying in every movie he does. Yeah. He's trying hard, even if the movie is not giving him anything. He's giving it his all, and he's at least putting forth the maximum effort. Yeah, I should say.
Oh, I totally agree with you, and you're right. I think maybe like the German is like a tougher thing, or Austrian, like Stallone with the tougher accent versus like the romantic French kind of accent. Yeah. But I think, man, I have a JCVD action figure on pre-order right now that I can't wait to get. It's like a combination of Bloodsport and Kickboxer. I can't wait.
It's got a concerning bulge to it, I feel.
It does. I can't wait. I'm so excited to get this thing. But I want to like put him in all kinds of splits. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, yeah. So I feel that even like Stallone and obviously Seagal, like they would phone it in if a movie's, you know, what do they care, you know? But JCVD, he's always trying, man. He's always giving it his effort, his A+ effort.
Yeah.
What I want to know with all these guys is like, I want to why didn't they ever make a video game where you could be all of these guys against each other? Like, I know they got to sign on.
Like a fighting game? Or
yeah, like a fighting game. Yeah.
Dude, that would be awesome.
Like a Street Fighter, but like you play Seagal versus Van Damme, or, Stallone, you got Arnold, you got Dolph Lundgren, I don't know, Wesley Snipes, Chuck Norris, who knows?
It would be like a licensing nightmare, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's a licensing nightmare. Like, couldn't they just like put all the differences aside? Say, guys, let's get the kids some games that they can play here. Like, I know it took 40 years for Expendables to get made, so
that's what I was gonna say. They made the movie version of that with the Expendables, but like the closest you're gonna get to playing Van Damme in a video game is playing Street Fighter the movie, the game, where you get to play him as Guile, even though it's basically a Mortal Kombat ripoff. Is essentially what it was.
It's probably the worst version of Street Fighter you could possibly have, and it's impossible to mess up Street Fighter, right?
It's so hard.
But yeah, I'm thinking of late arcade era fighting game, maybe like Mortal Kombat 3, where they introduce combos.
Yeah.
That style of graphics. That's what I'm thinking.
Now, are you thinking that it would be the actors or all of the, like, forget the licensing. Let's say in a perfect world, you could make whatever video game you want. So you're saying you want like the T-800 versus John Matrix versus like Nico Toscani.
So no, here's the thing. Yeah. You're picking Arnold or Seagal or Van Damme or whoever, the real name, but then you can change the costume.
Oh, the skin.
The skins. Maybe you get 3 or 4 skins. So you can have Rambo, you can have the Terminator, you can have Chance Boudreaux if you want.
Do they have different moves based on the skin that they're wearing too? Like, or is it like they have what's
no?
Arnold's
I think
move?
I mean this is the 90s. We can't it can't be too complicated. And there's going to be down forward. Yeah, there's going to be down forward B. It's like I'm not saying we're having fireballs or anything, but there's special moves. Obviously, man, what a missed opportunity. I know.
I would pay a lot for that.
It would never happen. But like the licensing aside, like I take my $100. Video games are usually at that point they were like $40. I'll give you an extra 60 to make this happen. I
think a lot of people would have probably paid for that because it would have been awesome, and they could have done it like you said in the Mortal Kombat style. Or even if you look at Mortal Kombat 1 and Mortal Kombat, I guess Mortal Kombat 1, because it looked like mocap, essentially, because it was the actors. And Johnny Cage is famously modeled after Van Damme. I mean, that's a thing, right? That's partly why he does a split and all that other stuff. But no, man, that's an awesome idea. Like, if we could ever sell anything, quit our jobs and license this game. Let's go.
Like,
let's go try to do it.
If we were like indie video game developers, right? We can make this game and like use their likeness, but not really them.
Not them.
It's not really them. I've seen it happen in other avenues. Oh man,
enough that we don't get sued.
Wrong career, guys.
What do you think about him and where he ranks compared to those? Do you think that you would put Van Damme ahead of those other guys, like based on where you are now in your life?
Yeah, I feel like he's higher than he would have been, but I still like Arnold and Seagal better than him. Like, as their movies go.
The movies.
Yeah.
See, and you said this before, and we're going to have to do a Seagal movie coming up here soon because we can't touch on it here. Like we said, you said this before we recorded. If we're going to rip on Seagal, we got to wait till we do a Seagal episode. But there is a huge feud between Seagal and Van Damme that we just have to talk about on our next Seagal episode. But I think you mentioned this a while back, but Seagal doesn't really have that many movies when you look at it, and maybe Van Damme's kind of the same. Like,
it was a short run, but he was on top. It's kind of like if you think about Stone Cold Steve Austin's run in WWF, the Attitude Era. It wasn't that long. It was like a 5-year run. It's a couple of years, and then he got hurt, and then it was over. Yeah. But like the impact, it's the same type of thing. Same type of thing from like 87 to 92. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think, to be honest, and maybe it's a recency bias for me, but I'm saying Arnold number 1 and I'm saying Van Damme number 2. Yeah. And then I would put Seagal number 3. And I like Stallone and all those other guys, but those movies don't resonate with me like these other ones do. They're great.
Stallone has more stinkers, but his great ones are great.
Yeah.
So
Rocky, Rambo, like they're fantastic.
But I might put Van Damme as an action star. I might put him ahead of Stallone. Obviously, I'm a Rocky. I'll watch all the Rockies all day, and Demolition Man is one of my all-time favorite action movies. And Van Damme doesn't have anything that touches, to me, something like Demolition Man. I feel like Van Damme's movies are more, what's the best way to describe this? Like straight martial arts and less Hollywood. Is that
I know what you mean, but
like
I
they
guess
seem lower budget, and not that they look bad, but it seems like they're more simplified than maybe a Stallone movie ever would have been.
that's fair. I mean,
at this point in time,
you could say Universal Soldier was more like Hollywood / budget, but I also look at that as like
huge.
B tier compared to like a Demolition Man, even though it's a great movie. Like I could see what you mean though. It was huge because it was him and Lundgren, but it's like this movie. I mean, I didn't know about this until I got older. Even Lionheart, like I hadn't watched that until recently. Like, and I've always seen Bloodsport, Kickboxer, Time Cop. Like those are the ones, and Sudden Death. Like the ones that we've done are the ones that I always recognize him with. And you know, you could look at some of these other ones, like even Double Impact. Like I hadn't seen that until I was much older. And Hard Target.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Detective Louis Burke or Lewis. I think they call him Lewis, but it should be Louis. What are this guy's motivations? Like what you mentioned in the beginning, like you don't remember what happened. Like this will be a good test for you. What is this guy doing in the beginning of the movie? Do you remember?
I don't know. All I know is he's fighting this super villain called the Sandman, who I love. What a monster the Sandman was, right? And then he's gone.
Literally a monster.
He's there and he's gone, man. He took 5 shots to the chest. Talking shit the whole way through. And then all of a sudden we're like in a boardroom or meeting where he's like talking to some cops about going undercover in a prison to help solve a string of murders in the prison. But like, did it have anything to do with Sandman, or did I miss something there?
No, and it's funny because I knew Sandman was going to come back around because you don't just show like an immortal guy.
That guy doesn't just stay dead, right? He got shot 5 times. He's probably all cracked up, right?
Dude,
that doesn't kill a crack guy.
My favorite part about we just talk about it now, but like the whole opening scene. If you haven't seen this movie, you should go watch it. It's on HBO Max right now as of March 2023. But he's like lurking around, and the Sandman is like hiding in a closet, but he's wearing pajamas.
Yeah, he's wearing pajamas. He's freaking Sandman.
Is that his uniform?
He's not wearing a wife beater and a kendo stick and smashing a beer over his forehead like ECW. It's not that Sandman.
No,
it's pajamas get you in your sleep. Sandman. He's got a gimmick.
Is that? I was gonna say, is it on purpose that he's wearing that?
He's leaning in.
Like I didn't know, or if he just woke up because it's really ambiguous. Like he's in this
just
place.
Woke up.
Like
he just got so high on crack, Drew, that there's no way that man has slept in the last week.
He did look like a meth head because his hair was all ripped out and everything.
Yeah. He's on something. He's on something because you don't just take 5 to the chest and not feel it.
I think Burke is kind of a badass though, because think about it. He's a Canadian Mountie cop, and you mentioned you're not sure if this connects to the rest, but the whole reason, like these guys come up, it's like Mexican gang members, and he just like high kicks the guy to the face, which is incredible. And then the other guys just backed off, but he was about to get roughed up in this rough part of LA.
Yeah. So when your first move is a kick to the face, like that's when you know not to mess with the guy.
Yeah, don't mess with this dude.
Don't mess with a guy who starts with a kick to the face.
Yeah, and
I can't even get my foot up there.
I'd fall over.
Let alone think about it being my first move.
The best part about this whole scene, though, is like he's going to avenge. He's a cop, so essentially he's rogue. He's a vigilante at this point.
Vigilante justice.
He's essentially a vigilante justice. He goes to avenge his partner, and they didn't see. This like reminds me of Kindergarten Cop when we see Arnold Schwarzenegger in the beginning hunting after the ponytail guy. I can't even remember his name right now at this point.
Yeah, I forget. It's good. It's a good name.
God.
It's a good name. It's slipping.
How can I forget this name? Yeah. Cullen Crisp. Cullen Crisp. How did I forget that? It's like one of the most iconic last row villains here. Cullen Crisp. But anyway, it reminds me of that I need a prequel of Louis Burke and his partner going after the Sandman. Like that's the end of another movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. Chasing this guy down for the whole movie.
I want to see that.
I'm in.
I need a prequel here
because we got not nearly enough of him in the beginning, and then he shows up at the end in the prison, and it's like, oh
yes,
God, this could have been the whole movie. Who cares about the organs?
Organ trade.
Who cares about that? Just have him evading the Sandman in prison for 90 minutes.
That's what I need. And I need the end. The beginning of this movie is the end of another great movie that we got robbed from. And I think it sets up though, but it does set up how badass Burke is, because he doesn't care about your American laws, man. He doesn't care about that. He just wants to avenge his partner, and he jacks this guy up after he jumps out of a closet in his pajamas. And you're in for a fun ride when this happens. Like when I saw this, I'm like, all right, I'm in. And then they take you to the boardroom, like you said. So do you remember what happened here? Like I don't want to quiz you and grill you here, but they set him up. What were they trying to do?
I mean, I don't know. The only thing I know is that there's a lot of prisoners that are dying with like in a very specific way, ice pick to the back of the head or something, right?
Yes.
And they're just gone, right? And the prisoners are kind of scared. They don't know what's going on, and they're going to send Van Damme in there to investigate and try to solve the murders and see what's going on, who's doing this, and try to stop this.
I mean, is there anything more dangerous here? Like they and I have lots of questions, and maybe we'll wait till we get to some of the other villains of this thing, but like I don't know if this was done on purpose or they sent him in to fail. Make it look like they were trying. Like, oh, we got to send in somebody.
Isn't that like the classic movie mistake of the bad guys trying to get away with crooked cops? Yep. Is when they send a guy that's way too capable of solving the crime in to do the job.
But I guess if you send in like a guy who sucks, then it doesn't look like you're trying. And it's maybe they're...
Well, first of all, they probably didn't know that he can kick people like that. Like they didn't know. They never saw him kick anybody. Second of all, maybe it's like a U.S.-Canada bias where it's like, this guy's from Canada, Canadian Mountie. Yeah, this guy can't solve a crime. And like they're totally downplaying the fact that this guy is, he's a crack cop. He's a crack detective.
They did use it to their advantage in how they positioned it, right? So I think it's either the smartest plan of all time or the worst plan of all time. But they sent him in because they said nobody will recognize him. He's from Canada. Then no one's going to know who this guy is. So he could blend in and he could get away with being undercover. Nobody should theoretically know who this dude is.
He never sent anyone that's in that prison to jail. Yeah.
At this point. Right.
Yeah.
So, but do you think that they paid him to do this? Like I thought they just told him you got to do this. Like what was the exchange? What do you think?
It was a question. Like, do you want to do this? But like that can't be part of his regular cop salary. There's no way.
How much is it worth?
It's the definition of overtime, of above and beyond, right?
So you wouldn't do this for free?
No, it's not part of my duty as a cop. Are you serious? Go to jail?
I don't know the motivation. Like there was no motivation.
All right. So yeah, it's not like he's doing it for further revenge, right? It's not that way anymore. All right. Let's say in 1990, his salary, maybe US dollars, you want to call it 50? And that might even be generous.
Yeah, that's generous.
Probably because cops, it's like a joke. Oh, cops don't make anything. It's like, it's a thankless job, whatever. All right, let's say he makes 50 in 1990. You got to at least double that. There's got to be a 50K bonus to get me to go to jail, right?
Yeah, I would think. Like, I don't know.
What if they forget about you? Like, they already kind of didn't care about him. What if he just gets stuck in there forever? Because like, there's no guard on the inside that also knows he's a cop, which is a total flaw in the plan. The guard should definitely know that he's a cop,
but they couldn't know because there was this corruption in this prison, so they weren't sure.
Possibly crooked, yeah.
So it ultimately was completely crooked. But the whole thing of this is like, man, you better have the biggest balls in the world to go and do this. Because
this guy,
think about this. Like, I don't even know how much you could pay someone to do this, but when you're undercover, I mean, thinking about like The Departed, like no one can know this.
Yeah, nobody. Leo was in danger of getting left alone.
Yeah, and they made it seem like it was just the people in this boardroom. I think it was the district attorney or like the attorney general or something. So the whole point of this was that the governor didn't want to look bad because there was all this stuff going down in this prison. There's all these random murders, so it was going to hurt his reelection. And then you had like these lawyers and all that stuff, and then you had the girl Amanda Beckett who was supposed to play his wife or whatever. So he goes undercover, and I just think it was like completely risky because you're right. Like, what if you get stuck in there? Like, could you survive? Like, I couldn't for sure. No way.
No.
Like, do you think it was realistic for him?
Well, for him, yeah. But you talking about me or you? For him, yeah. He walks in there the toughest guy in prison already.
They didn't know it though.
But would you step to him?
I don't think I would.
Because if you were a prison badass. You'd been there a couple of years already. You're used to punking people, right?
Like
would you
his
step
cellmate?
to him? Does he look like the type of guy you could take? And
I guess, like, he didn't have tattoos. He didn't have like any obvious signs of like he got gashed up or anything. No scars, no visible scars.
He kind of looks like a pretty boy, right?
He kind of does. You saw how high his jeans were, right?
Yeah, he's
like,
nice. He's very nice demeanor, right?
He had the high-waisted jeans. He was ripped, but you couldn't tell.
No,
because you didn't see him naked.
He's incognito ripped. He's not ripped until he flexes it. His
True.
arms are not huge until he starts flexing.
You saw his meaty thighs, though, man, when he was sitting in solitary.
Well, he's got those jeans on, man.
Got those thick legs.
You can't tell. He's got those Dalton jeans on. They're just like, they suck the meat in.
I would not step to him, I'll tell you that, because you don't know who anybody is.
Yeah.
But I think this gets into the whole prison rules. Like, obviously, there's stereotypes of prison. And there's real things, and you watch people, but like in a movie, let's talk about the movie prisons, right?
Yeah.
Like you almost have to establish yourself right away, right?
Do you?
You have to.
Do you?
But I don't know.
Like I don't know what's real. Like, do you got to beat somebody up, or is it best to lay low and not make eye contact with anybody?
He tried. I mean, I don't know. To me, this reminds me of like the first time you go to school. You go to a new school, right? He's at a new school.
Yeah.
He's got to find his crew. He's like trying to eat lunch. He sees Hawkins, the dude who plays Rafiki, the voice of Rafiki, very famous actor. He is like a clerk at the desk.
He was nice to him when he got his number, right? When he checked into prison, yeah.
But this is 1990 in the prisons.
He didn't
you're
know
not
how it
allowed
works.
to cross groups here.
He didn't know that. He wasn't allowed to eat with black people, and he's supposed to be with the white people, which is a shame because there isn't normal white people. It's white supremacists are the white people.
That's what I mean. And like, if you're not a white supremacist, do you have to be one? Like, I wouldn't. Like, but what do you do?
But what do you do? But what do you do?
And he didn't want to do it. Like, I think he kind of tended to himself, right? It seemed like that. Like, they made him sit with these other guys, and they're like, oh yeah, but he didn't want to hang out with them.
Yeah.
Like, he kind of did his own thing.
But like, let me ask you this, like, and this is, we're getting to the races and things like that. If you're a white guy who refuses to get in line with the white supremacists, right?
I think you're
dead. Do you get beat up worse by the white supremacist guys than you would by the black guys or the Mexican guys and all those other guys?
In a movie, yes, you get your ass handed to you. But you die.
Do you think the black guys and the Mexican guys would leave you alone, and you'd solely get beat up by the white supremacists, or would you get beat up by all the groups?
I think maybe the other groups don't go after you because it's like you're already getting enough by your own.
You've proven that you're not against them.
Yeah, you're not a racist because you're not associating with them.
But by outwardly dissing the white supremacists, you're gonna get got. You're gonna get got.
Yeah, but I mean, and then the other groups, no matter what version of they are, whether it's a gang or a racial group, like they're not going to go save you because they can't.
They're not.
Do that.
They're just going to leave you alone, which is kind of good, but like you probably get beat up worse by the white supremacists.
Yeah,
because they feel disrespected.
It's pretty like.
But at the same time, I don't want to like align myself with these kind of people. But you're talking about self-preservation.
I think you're dead.
At a certain point, I like to think that I would be able to fight like for a while.
I think I would die.
They're just gonna get you, man.
Well, what did you think of his old roommate situation? So Konefki, his name was.
Yeah.
The second he gets in the bunk, he steps to him, right? Like you said it. Like he tries to take him. Do you think that was the right move? Like, was he trying to establish dominance, or was he just testing him?
Yeah, he tried to get a beach from him right away. Like, see if this guy will do it. Hey man, if you don't have money, then you gotta pay, quote unquote, other ways.
Did he really want him to do that, or was it just a power thing?
I don't think he wanted money at all. I think he wanted the beach. Right?
He was going there.
Yeah,
that's.
Yeah, I think if you're a slime ball, and you're getting a new cellmate, you do want to try to establish dominance, not dominance. Now that guy is lucky that Van Damme isn't also a slime ball, because that would have easily been a reverse situation on on what's his name?
Konefki.
Konefki?
I don't even know how to say it.
Oh man, he would have been screwed, right?
Yeah,
if Van Damme was the type to try to seek payment.
Literally screwed. I mean, they had a weird thing where he tried to basically assault him immediately.
Yeah.
Van Damme establishes his own dominance there. And then and then like immediately they become friends. Like I didn't really understand that whole dynamic where Van Damme, because he's just trying to solve the murders. Like he's got to be friends with whoever he can. He went into the other camps of the other races and groups that was really seedy. He just needs some information.
And he kind of got free passes, right? Like
he did.
I don't know if it's his charm, but like nobody really fought with him aside from the people that were just like outwardly jerks, right?
I think it was probably because he tried to be friendly with them. Like he tried to be friends with Hawkins. He tried to be friends with some of the other guys outside of the dude, I think the Mexican gang member that he fought in the laundry room when he disrespected him because he was trying to save Hawkins, and that guy had it out for him. So outside of maybe the Mexican gang, like it didn't seem like anyone really wanted to go after him.
He was pretty respectful to everyone. I think once they saw him fight, maybe they were like, "Oh, this guy, well, let's leave this guy alone."
I'm going to ask you something completely unrelated.
Right.
Another prison thing. How many days would you hold it in before you decided that you were comfortable enough taking a dump in that toilet that's like open?
So we're worried about sexual assaults, shivs, murders, all this kind of stuff. You're worried about pooping in front of people? It's a legitimate concern. I'm not going to lie. Are you a shy pooper? Because I probably am.
I am, and I don't like going in a public restroom if I can avoid it. But
no
like
walls, man.
There's nothing here.
It's the wiping, isn't it?
It's all of it. I mean,
it's the wiping. I mean, you could poop in front of people, and like, but the fact that you have to wipe after, like, that's a personal and private thing. Yeah.
Everyone's got their own technique.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
What kind of perv is looking though? Like, is anybody really looking?
Man. You're in prison.
They're probably looking. They're looking.
Or does just nobody care at all? Because it's like, whatever, this like get out of here. But like, imagine just going right in front, like next to your bed. That's what you're doing. The toilet's right there. Your roommate's going. Yeah.
So you got Burke and Konefki, and like they're chatting. They're still, Konefki gets off his bed. They're still talking about what they're talking about, and like he just sits down, and it's like normal. It's like, dude, act like there's a wall.
Well, I mean, so they talk about it in American restrooms. There's the gap and the floor, so you can see the feet, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is what people come to the Last Row podcast for, like bathroom etiquette. So, but in Europe, did you know this, that they have like full wall, like ceiling to floor stalls, and some places that I've been to also here, like if you go to like a certain restaurants and stuff, they'll have that. But like, isn't that so much better? And the reason why they don't do that in most American restrooms, from what I heard, is they don't want people like either shooting up or sleeping in the bathroom, like homeless people.
I think it's a safety thing.
It is. Yeah. But wouldn't you much rather have a floor to ceiling like door that you could just close?
I think so.
More private.
There's no problem with some people seeing your feet. I don't care.
I don't like it.
See my feet.
I don't like it.
But like if you're in school, it's like, oh man, I know
Badway's taking a dump.
Badway's shoes. Look, he's taking a dump. It's like, no one's really said that, but everyone thinks that that's going to be a thing that's going to be said, right?
You're right. You think that someone's thinking it, so it makes you feel
like
self-conscious.
The conversation in the hallways of high school is not, oh, Badway's taking a shit. It's like, okay, and like, where are you going with this?
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Who cares? Everyone.
But
does.
like in everyone's mind, it's like, oh, I don't want that.
It's a vulnerable thing.
It's not happening.
I didn't mean to take this into the dumps, literally.
No,
like I did. But I think about that. Like if you're in prison, like I think you're right. We're worried about shivs. We're worried about all this other stuff. And I'm sitting here thinking like, I'd probably be holding it in a couple days. I can't go in the bathroom there.
How am I going to do this?
I can't go there.
So you're more worried about pooping than showering.
But see, I guess you gotta, here's the other thing, right? You gotta poop in there because it's like one of the most vulnerable positions you could be in. Yeah. You don't want to get shivved while you're taking a dump.
Well, then think about that. It's just you and your roommate, though, so it's fine.
So it's better because you're locked in.
It's not like a communal shitter where it's like there's 12 shitters lined up and you're all pooping next to each other.
Like the trough.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? So if they had that, that's worse. Because would you rather get murdered taking a dump, or would you rather get murdered in the shower while you're taking a shower?
Definitely get murdered in the shower, of course. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Because you can't be sitting while you're getting murdered.
No, yeah.
You'd rather be standing to get murdered.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
I mean, the thing is, the shower, you're right, is
like you see it coming, right? and like you got your pants around your ankles. Like nobody wants that.
You can't get up. No, because
you don't want people finding your dead body with your pants around your ankles. You just don't want that.
Yeah, and a dirty butt. Like you can't.
Yeah,
Like I mean, it's going to happen anyway because when you die, I guess
they say, yeah.
That's what they say.
But hey, I mean, if you go and it's all clear and then you get killed, then hey,
that's true.
Then you're clear.
So if let's say there was a community bathroom.
Yeah, just 12 in a row, or are they back to back 6 and 6?
So preemptively, you've got to take your pants completely off so you can run away.
Yeah. If you have to make a quick escape.
Because if you don't, you're gonna trip.
You're gonna trip, and then you're done.
I'm sorry.
Give yourself a chance to get away.
I'm sorry, guys.
What movie are we doing?
I'm sorry. This is my fault.
Listen, nobody's watched this movie, all right? And like, it's fine, and they should because it's a good movie. But they came for the toilet talk. I'm
sorry,
and
guys.
The prison talk. They came for the prison talk.
I'm sorry, but I'm not. But seriously. If you're going to go to the bathroom in a communal bathroom, you better take your pants all the way off so you can run away.
Drew knows that, take it from him.
If they come for you, you better.
When I poo in my house, I go naked just in case I have to escape. You never know.
If someone breaks in, you got to run away.
Do you ever think in your mind, like if you're in the bathroom in your house, like normal day?
Yeah.
What if the shit goes down? What if somebody bursts through the door? What do you do? Have you ever thought about that? I think about that. It's irrational. It's irrational, but I think about it.
You got to be thinking about the exit.
What's my plan? Yeah.
That's safety.
What's my plan? Yeah.
That's safety.
Mm-hmm. So really, I should have sneakers on and no pants.
No pants.
So maybe like gym shorts that I could easily pull up, even with a dirty butt.
But
Welcome to the Last Row Podcast.
Give us a 5-star review, please, on Apple Podcasts.
Prestige.
Oh my God! Should we get back to the movie? I don't know. Maybe we should.
Let's wrap it up.
How do you think that Van Damme did in prison? What do you think he did? How would you rate his establishing himself by trying to make friends with different groups and all that stuff?
He's an A+ inmate. He established dominance. He kicked people's asses who stepped to him to the point where nobody wanted to really fight him anymore until the Sandman showed up. And then everyone was rooting for the Sandman because they knew that, Sandman's the only guy that could beat him.
The goddamn Sandman.
The Sandman, man. So yeah, he was great. I mean, he was nice to everyone, fought who he had to fight, and sneaking around that prison, which, by the way, very low security, if you ask me.
Oh, my God. It looked like a movie set, basically.
Prisoners were just walking all over the place. One guy has a whole level to himself.
Yeah. The basement.
The basement with a nice bed.
Priest.
Yeah.
What did you think? So what did you think of Priest and his whole operation? Man,
when they said we're going to see the Priest, I really thought it was going to be a religious guy.
Yeah, me too. I did too.
Not, for lack of a better term, like a pimp.
Yeah. Essentially, that's what it was.
Yeah. No, the Priest was fine. And I thought the Priest was going to be meaner than he was. Priest ended up being a nice guy too.
It was cool because he had money. I think if he didn't have money, it'd be different.
And his roommate, his cellmate ended up being nice. Why were there so many nice guys in this prison?
That's true. Normally you think this would be everyone going after each other. And it kind of was, I guess, with some of the gangs. But is it because he's so good and he was so nice to everybody that he ultimately made friends with them all and that's why they were nice? But you're right.
No, I think they were nice because he was tough.
He was tough.
He kicked the guy's ass real quick in the lunchroom, and word got around all right, we can't mess with this guy.
We got to talk a little bit about some of these other things. I want to talk about the plan in a second and Sandman, obviously, but the whole thing of him trying to solve this murder. I mean, he's making friends through this thing, but this woman, Amanda Beckett, return of Sandy Bonatoni from Short Circuit 2, the triumphant return. The actress who's back for this movie, she's playing his wife. So she's a lawyer and she works for the office that sends him undercover.
She's a lawyer.
Yeah, she was a lawyer.
I thought she was a cop too.
No, she's a lawyer. And the whole situation was that she's supposed to pretend to be his wife. I mean, that's what it said. She was a lawyer, but maybe she was also a cop. But she was sneaking him in things. She kept going to see him. Did you get the sense that the prison guards were suspecting something? Because they didn't look like a couple, in my opinion.
It's all her fault too. She showed up the most professional looking of all time. Don't you have to do it up where you look like
trashy?
For lack of a better term, like Jersey trash, where you're just hair's blown out, it's all hell.
Yes, he called her out on it.
I'm thinking of like a Peggy Bundy type situation, right?
Yeah. He called her out on it.
Big hair, leather pants, that whole thing, cleavage showing.
Gemma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she showed up looking like a cop.
Yes, exactly. He's like, you're going to get me killed. Like, it was ridiculous.
It's like, whoa, stop looking so good. You're going to get me killed here. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting too, like the way that she kept showing up and they were doing this. But did you find the conjugal visit thing like a little weird, just out of place?
Yeah. So when he got a conjugal visit with her, which is just another way for them to meet, it was just after he had been put in solitary confinement. And he had only been in prison for like a month, right?
Yeah, it was not.
Do you get a conjugal visit a month after prison?
Dude, talk about that room too. Like, you think they clean that place out? Hell no.
Oh,
that's
man.
like a busted out RV. Get the black light out.
Get the black light out, man.
I'm not going in that room.
That's gross. Why do you think they did it on the kitchen counter?
Yeah. Well, everyone's got that idea though.
If they did it, I mean, it was widely assumed that they did it.
I think it was weird that they did.
And she had shown no romantic interest in him before that, right?
They were kind of falling for each other a little bit, but it was.
She was happy that he was saying to her, "Good job," because she's like a rookie.
Yeah,
she's like straight out of college or whatever.
I thought they had good chemistry for what it's worth. To be honest,
sure.
I mean, he did recommend the computer hacker that was his best guy. That was a teenager.
Yeah, I just thought it was odd. I heard it's a false thing that conjugal visits exist.
Oh, it's not real? I don't know.
I hear that it's not real. You don't get conjugal visits in prison.
I mean, it's kind of like, it's a weird thing in general, isn't it?
But really, if you do it regularly, maybe there'd be less violence.
It probably does reduce the amount of violence.
Maybe. Let everybody have some. You have to have a willing person,
you got to be married or have like a.
You got to be married, or hey, if there's prostitution was legalized or something,
Yeah.
Then hey, get your commissary funds out, save up.
Could you imagine the people complaining about the taxes going to that? It'd be ridiculous, right?
Yep.
I
hear it's fake. There's no such thing.
I don't know too much about this love story. It doesn't really matter. I look, we could go on and on about this movie. There's two things I want to talk about before we.
Let's get to the damn Sandman already, right?
I want to talk about Volgar and the plan because you alluded to it at the beginning, and I kept thinking about this the whole time. Why did they send this guy in? Were they trying to make it look like they were trying?
Yeah,
what was the deal with it?
Like I said earlier, this is a classic movie mistake for bad cops, is to send a guy that's too good in to make it look like they're trying everything they can.
And what did you think of? So Volgar is the main guy. He's the one that Amanda's working for. She suspects that it's her boss that's in on this. And anyway, long story short, it turns out that there's this giant shocking plan that Volgar, is the main bad guy, and he's the one. And we're not even going to villain scale him because he's not worth it. It's not worth it. And the Sandman is too badass, but he's not barely in it.
He's barely in the movie.
Volgar reveals this whole plan because his wife needed a liver transplant, and he couldn't use his power to basically get her this liver. Mm-hmm. So he created this whole scheme to basically steal an organ from prisoners. And then he liked it so much that he just kept doing it, and they were making money, and all these guys were in on this thing. What do you think of this plan? And isn't this guy super weak? Because when he gets found out, he just is oh, oops. It was To Catch a Predator situation.
So 2 things. One's about the plan itself, right? Is it such a bad plan?
No, it's smart, to be honest.
He said it pretty in a very crappy way. Don't think of them as humans, right? But on the other hand, if it's scum of the earth, is this wrong of me to say? Maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Get some people some
where's the last row
some organs?
Where's the last row ethics committee here? We got to get the
only if they're super guilty. All right, I know there's innocent people in jail, but only if they're super guilty.
I'm gonna send Badway to the ethics committee here. Yeah. This is.
I could have this. I could have this argument. I could have it. I might be swayed in the other direction easily, but I could start on the one side and see what's going on.
If you're a movie villain, it's a great plan.
Yeah, you justify it yourself. It's like any great heel.
And they went on with this a long time. So when you mentioned at the beginning when the doctor was like, "Oh, AB blood, that's rare," and then you saw the thing got dumped and they're like, oh, it's medical waste. Like,
Yeah.
I assume that was just a giant vial of blood that they were
Yeah.
transporting.
Or like blood with like a heart inside of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're right. It's a great plan.
Yeah.
But like, you're right. He's an idiot because he sent in the guy that was too good and he got
Yeah.
figured out.
Mhm.
And he was trying to hide it the whole time. He clearly, tricked Beckett, and she thought that he was innocent.
Yeah. And the other thing is that Beckett was like this guy was like a father to him, to
Yes.
her. So like she trusted him implicitly. So what about when his wife, who he saved with a liver transplant from a prisoner, she's got scumbag prisoner liver in her body, right?
Prison
He
liver.
jumped through all these hoops to get his wife a new liver. She walked in while he has a gun on his protege, right? For a second, did you think that he was going to shoot both of them?
He probably should have. And here's why, right? Because you think his wife's not going to divorce him after that?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I guess he saved his life, but
Yeah. But
he's going down.
The only reason he started a criminal enterprise is because of her, to save her life. It would have been so hilarious to me if he just went, shot her, and then
impulse.
shot his protege. Yeah.
Well, shouldn't he have done something to Beckett? Like, he revealed the plan and then he didn't do anything, and then he just let her walk out. Like, that's
so. See, now
weak.
what would have been realistic is if Beckett would have tried to walk away and all of a sudden the wife pulls a gun out too. She's in on it too.
Yeah. Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about that. Or the other guy, Keen, I believe his name was. It was her boss, the guy with the mustache.
Yeah.
He should have been waiting outside that room.
Yep.
He was lurking around and they never showed him.
And like they can get away with not killing her by saying to her, listen, you don't say a effing word or else we're going to kill Van Damme in prison.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what they decided to do, right? When Van Damme was doing too well, they send in the Sandman.
And
it's like, oh,
this
why
guy's
the hell
still
is he
alive? Is he still alive? This guy took 5 to the chest.
This
you
guy
can't kill him.
is straight up immortal, in my opinion. Like, he's immortal. And like, the thing that I love about the Sandman is he's like a hero to the prisoners. They bring him in and like he's a celebrity.
They loved him.
It's like he's a celebrity.
It's like you almost root for him because they love him so much. It's like, oh man, this is nice. It was nice.
I know.
To see everyone come together like that. It was nice. The black guys, the white guys, the Mexicans, the Chinese, they all loved him. It doesn't matter. Race relations is cured in that prison because the Sandman's here. All right?
Is he instantly the boss? Is he the boss of the place?
Yeah. He's the head honcho for sure.
I mean, he instantly assaults Van Damme. They hang him up in the shower ultimately, and he basically stabs him, but he doesn't. He's like, I'm not going to kill you.
He teased him.
Worse? What's worse in prison than like a molester? A cop.
Yeah, a cop.
So they basically out him as a cop, and ultimately all the guys want to kill him. And dude, can I tell you, like, the last half hour of this movie, the last 20 minutes of this movie were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You got like a prison break riot.
Yeah.
You got everybody going against each other.
Let's erase the organ part of this movie, right?
Yes.
And have this happen 30 minutes in.
Yes.
And then have an hour straight of Van Damme trying to survive, everyone in the prison trying to kill him because they know he's a cop.
I love it. I would love it. Like, I think Sandman is Vigo the Carpathian. He was shot. He was stabbed in the head. Like you said, he 5 to the chest.
Yep.
I mean, he was thrown into a literal furnace.
He was burned. Yep.
Can we talk about the fight here? Can we talk about it? I don't know what. Like, it's just ridiculous. And he was goading Van Damme into, like, I don't know, doing what? You heard it in the beginning. He throws a wrench at him. He throws a goddamn wrench at him.
And by the way, I've picked up those wrenches before. Those, I mean, like 30 pounds. I mean, they're not nothing. You know,
threw that like a boomerang.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Did you like the whole cat and mouse game that he was playing? Because I thought that the Sandman was criminally underused in this.
Yeah, because it added to his aura where he's not human. He's like taunting him from like the heavens.
I thought the guy who played him looked awesome too. Like the way that they used him. He had the busted up hair. He didn't have his pajamas in here. No. I guess you can't have that. You got to have the prison.
But then he had like a cop's uniform on by the end.
He put the jacket on, which made him look it was like his prize.
Yep.
But I thought, so was he just the total wild card? Like, he's going against the guards and everything too. Like, I thought the Sandman was just not in this enough. And
Yeah.
the final fight is so awesome. It's basically like the Kumite, right? Like they're fighting outside of this furnace, and Van Damme's all greased up, looking super ripped. And they get into this fight, and you got all the prisoners around them. Like you couldn't pay to be at a fight like this.
And set the scene. It's like around them, and like there's, I don't know,
6 levels,
4 to 6 levels of stairs, circular, where like all these prisoners are like looking down on them in like a fight pit style.
Dude, it's like,
what a setting. What a setting.
It was awesome. And the furnace is going, and there's fire, and they're just kicking each other's ass.
Like there was a palpable sense of heat during this fight too. A very, very well shot. We don't break down scenes like this very often, but it's a very underrated final fight scene for a movie that doesn't get a ton of love.
No, and I think this kind of fight is probably like one of the best kind of fights that you would see in this type of movie, with the ambiance, the way it's shot. It's actually a good fight, I feel. And Van Damme's awesome in this scene. And the Sandman is great too. Like he gets literally thrown into a furnace. Did you think it was over when he got thrown into the furnace?
No, because they always come back. They always come back.
It's like a little fire is going to kill this guy. Get out of here.
I didn't think he would stand up and continue to fight after being burned, but I mean, not that he didn't even throw a punch. He stood up just to get kicked again, but but no, I mean, credit to him for like just proving his immortality.
Yeah, I mean, immortality is like the perfect way to put it, because he gets thrown into the furnace, like we said, and then he's burned alive essentially, and he jumps out and he's like, Berk! Like, I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. I'll see if I can screen grab him jumping out of the furnace completely on fire. And then what happens? Van Damme kicks his head into a bolt.
Yeah,
the back of his skull.
Lucky,
and he's still alive.
He's lucky that bolt was there, because how else was he going to kill him? What was he going to do?
And he's still alive until he basically pulls his head down.
Jiggled his brain.
He says, "You can't kill me. I'm the Sandman." It's like, we're lucky we didn't do villain scale on this.
And if you don't think that he's going to show up as a ghost to haunt him for the rest of his time, like you're mistaken.
We're lucky.
In his dreams, the Sandman will come get him.
All the other villains are lucky that we didn't villain scale this guy. I mean, it's not fair because he was barely in the movie, but this guy, I mean, he doesn't really even have a plan. But man,
he's like the greatest henchman you could ever have.
He's all timer, man. So what happens after this movie? Does he get out?
Yeah, I guess he gets out. Like, I don't know who's vouching for him, the lawyer, the girl. But like, if the other guy wanted to contest it, I guess he could.
You know, this is a conspiracy that's going all the way to the top. Like, I'm sorry, they're probably throwing him back in prison.
Yeah.
He's going to be murdered. If it wasn't by the Sandman, it's going to be by someone else. And I feel like there's no way. But do you think the bad guys get away with this? Like, what do you think happens to them? Like Vogler and all these other guys?
Oh, well, if Van Damme gets out, then they got to be going down, and it's true. But here's the thing about Van Damme, is if, like, say he did get thrown back into prison, either that one or another one, Van Damme, he's currently the ruler of that prison.
That's true.
So, like,
when he beat the Sandman.
When he beat him, everyone, like, let him go. Like, he walked up the stairs, and everyone was like, who had a beef with Van Damme, is like, let him go. Let him go. He beat the Sandman. Like, they're out of respect. They're like, this guy is the new king of the prison.
I love that.
And I love it. So it'd only been a matter of time if he would have got put into another prison that he would command the same respect, because clearly he's the king of prison.
Yeah, it's like the guy that beat the Sandman.
Yeah.
I said, oh, that guy. It's like if you beat Chuck Norris, it's like the guy that beat Chuck Norris.
The guy that beat Chuck Norris, can't mess with him.
Can't mess with
him. Do whatever that guy says. Whatever that guy says goes.
I think you're right. And I was wondering, like, if he went back to Canada too, because can he leave the States, or are they just going to keep him here? We'll never know. The movie just ends. It ends with the.
And you know what? I
credits.
Like that. That's a 90s thing. That's a very 90s thing where you just end the movie with so many questions.
Which I'm okay with. You're right. Yeah. Like, I like it.
There's no need to make it another 15 minutes. It's fine. We'll just end it. He beat Sandman, game over.
In the pantheon of JCVD movies, and maybe this is the way we can close this thing out, like, where does this rank to you of maybe the ones that we've done so far? Maybe the 5 that we've done now. Where do you think this is?
It's low on the list, but still very entertaining. I'll take Bloodsport over it. I'll take Sudden Death over it. I'll take Time Cop over it. I'll take Hard Target over it. But it doesn't make it bad. Like, 5th place is not bad in this situation.
I was browsing HBO Max, and when you sent me, hey, let's do this movie, I was like, dude, I started watching this the other day. Like, I just wanted to watch it, and I really liked it. I thought it was fun. It was a good movie.
Yeah.
Maybe it got a little dull in the middle. It was like an hour and 29. It felt longer than that, but I really liked it. I wasn't bored, and I had a great time watching this.
Every scene where it wasn't Van Damme in prison, it was like, let's get back to Van Damme in prison.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it wasn't too many. So
I think overall, like, he's super underrated. This movie's actually underrated. If you guys like this kind of movie, go watch it. It's on HBO Max, like I said, as of March 2023. And it's certainly entertaining, if alone just for that final fight that you could see. That final fight is so good. And the Sandman, like, get out the PJs, man.
Yeah. Go find the Sandman. Go experience it for yourself. You won't be disappointed.
Well, speaking of the Sandman, time to put these PJs on, cut up my hair a little bit, go take 5 to the chest. No, it's like 4 a.m. here, as we tend to joke, but in actuality it is. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, or you enjoyed any of the back catalog, check it out. Please consider subscribing to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. Check us out, thelastropodcast@gmail.com. Send us an email. Visit the website, thelastropodcast.com. Follow us on all the social channels at The Last Row Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And we'll be back in 2 weeks on Thursday, April 13th with a new episode for you guys. And on that note, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Do you like Van Damme's grunt over other actors' grunts?
I think I like it because they do it in slow motion. And I like that it's slow and sustained. And I think it's good.
It's over the top.
It's underrated, I feel, compared to so many other movies. Like, obviously, Arnold is like everyone knows that. That's more
Stallone's like, ooh.
Yeah.
And Van Damme is like,